Racism is built into the DNA of America.
Have whole committee meetings about it, all this different shit. They got to the Voting Rights Act. They pulled out them old racist maps. They went, here you go. And in Alabama, they had tornado warnings going off. They could have been killed by a tornado, but instead they said, wait a second, before we run down to the shelter, we got to go get rid of black representation.
While I have your attention, everything in America does in fact go back to racism, including streetlights. In the 1700s in the U.S., places like New York City, New York, and Boston, Massachusetts had what are called lantern laws, which required black people, mixed race people, and Native Americans to carry around lanterns so that they could easily be identified. Fast forward to 1968, in Washington, D.C., he starts to label black majority neighborhoods in D.C. as riot districts and has installed what are called high-pressure sodium lights.
Have you ever heard someone say that everything in America was built against Black Americans? Not just the justice or housing, but literally roads, schools, neighborhoods, bank, and the way cities were designed. That's exactly what some people are arguing on social media, and that's what we are looking into this video. Today, we are going to watch their claims and break them down to ask ourselves a bigger question. Is America still shaped by those systems, or people are giving too much credit to history for the problem that have many different causes? This video is not about making final conclusion. Rather, it's about examining the arguments around this topic. Now, let's get what people are arguing on social media, and I'm going to be back saying my remark for each and every video.
Thinking that this country is rooted in racism, and the fact that people still get uncomfortable hearing that tells you just how deep it runs. You can't talk about education, healthcare, housing without talking about race. You can't talk about who struggles and who survives without talking about race. Because the blueprint hadn't changed, they just stopped calling it what it is. They didn't fix the system, they just found new ways to disguise it. Look at healthcare. Black women are still dying in childbirth at 3 times the rate of white women. People still act like that's just coincidence? Doctors literally ignore our pain because racism taught them to. Look at food stamps. Every time the government threatens to cut aid, they flash an image of a black mother on Fox News or Newsmax or what the hell ever. Even though most people on Snap are white, they know what they're doing, they've been doing it. That's how they turn survival into shame. Also, you'll believe poverty is a personal failure instead of policy. Because if we ever saw how rigged this all is, we would literally burn this whole thing down. See, racism isn't just about hate, it's about money. It's the reason billionaires keep winning. They've convinced white working people that helping anyone else means losing something themselves. So they'll fight against healthcare, they'll fight against food programs, they'll fight against housing. Not because they don't need it, but because they told the wrong people would get it first. And while everybody's fighting over crumbs, the rich are eating at the table. Y'all know that, right? See, that's the trick. They built racism so the rich literally never have to lift a finger. We do it for them. And now you got people screaming, make America great again, while hospitals close and groceries cost double. And kids can't afford college. You think any of that is by accident? Racism is the perfect distraction. It keeps people too divided to notice who's cashing the checks. They'll have you blaming immigrants for stealing jobs, while corporations send those same jobs overseas for profit. They'll have you mad at the single mom using food stamps, instead of the congressman giving billionaires tax breaks. That's the real con. Racism pays the bills for the people in charge. So yeah, literally everything is rooted in racism. And I talk about it not because I'm obsessed with the past like some of y'all choose to think, but because the past is still paying rent in the present. They built this country on a hierarchy that never got torn down. It just got Wi-Fi and better PR. Racism doesn't just hurt black people. It keeps this whole country sick, broke, and divided. As long as they make us fight each other, they never have to change a thing. So no, I'm not making it about race. I'm reminding you who made everything else about it first.
This creator points out something which is very important. How everything is connected and was created to be against or to discriminate Black Americans. And the thing that most people don't really understand is something you can do right now can affect the people who are going to live 50 or 60 years from now. And that's what actually is happening on Black Americans. Because if you try to count the crime rate of Black Americans, you're going to find it to be very high. But some people don't really see the root of it. They just think Black Americans as people who commit to a lot of crimes. So they think of them as people who are supposed to be in jail or prisons. But if you actually try to see the roots and history, you're going to see that the history was built to be like that. Because if people are not educated, of course they are not going to get to opportunities like other white people who are living in America. And if you don't have a job and still you need to eat, you need to pay rent, then most of the people are going to commit to crime. And they think of Black Americans as people who were just born like that. And that is not actually true, because every system that you can build right now can affect how people are going to live in the next decades to come. And that is what is literally happening. Let's now proceed to the next video, and I'm going to be back with my comments, and I also want yours in the comment section.
I'm actually surprised. I'm shocked. Like, legit, I'm surprised that my brain is still trying to process what happened last week, because it shouldn't be. This country is built on hurting Black people. The United States of America they'll if they hear that they can hurt a Black person, they'll get it done in minutes. If they hear that they're going to help somebody, they'll have to set up studies. They'll have to.
And you have to remember that these are white people that are claiming rights for Black Americans. Don't think that it's the fellow Black Americans who are saying the problems that they are meeting. These are white people that are speaking up for the Black Americans, and they are really saying it loudly, openly to the public, which tells you at which level this problem really is. So let's continue to watch this video, and I'm gonna be back with my next comments.
Have whole committee meetings about all this different shit. They got to the Voting Rights Act. They pulled out them old racist maps. They went, here you go. And in Alabama, they had tornado warnings going off. They could have been killed by a tornado, but instead they said, wait a second, before we run down to the shelter, we got to go get rid of Black representation. In Tennessee, they went and destroyed the coverage of Memphis. In Mississippi, they are going to go use the building where they seceded from the Union, because their current building's under work. They could wait. They could just wait until the building's ready. And in a lot of these places, they're suspending primary elections that have already started. And the thing is you go, okay, well, maybe the Democrats can push back. Well, I don't think you're missing a big part of the issue here, which is that in this country, if you're a Republican and you want to hurt Black people, there are no laws to stop you. But if you're a Democrat, you want to make anything better, not only do you have to be perfect, but every single court in the fucking country will show up and kick your shit in. Because that's what just happened today in Virginia. They set up a 10-1 remander, try to fix this shit to counteract Texas, and the Virginia Supreme Court said, no, how dare you? You can't possibly use the weapons of the enemy.
This creator really speaks out, and I can see the anger, and I can see the courage to speak out for Black Americans because of what is happening. Imagine something strange is happening, tornado is coming, and they're not telling you to go into the shelters. What do you think they want for you? Do you think they want for you to live? I don't think so. I cannot say they want you to die, but maybe you can make the final conclusion. And that is happening to Black Americans almost everywhere in America. Not to say that all white people just think like that, or all lawmakers just think like that. But you have to know that very few people into the government, they can affect low-income Black Americans just through how they pass the laws, how they form the laws, how they communicate to those strange things that are coming, which everyone has rights to. Everyone has rights to know that a tornado or something strange is coming, and then should be informed by the government because they are the ones who are in charge. But if you don't tell the people that something strange is happening, or you tell them while that strange things already came, then what are you doing even there? And sometimes you can find that the government itself is not punishing those people who are doing those bad things to Black Americans. These are white people who are claiming about what is happening and are speaking it out loudly to the public that what is happening to Black Americans, how the policies were built, not maybe now, but thousands or hundreds of years ago, doesn't actually involve Black Americans or doesn't support Black Americans. And nobody is doing anything about it. They are all watching. And I think they really get happy when they see people separated, when they see one group of Black people and another group of white people arguing each other and discriminating each other. Because some people, they get benefit from that.
Because while I have your attention, everything in America does in fact go back to racism, including streetlights. In the 1700s in the US, places like New York City, New York, and Boston, Massachusetts had what are called lantern laws, which required Black people, mixed race people, and Native Americans to carry around lanterns so that they could easily be identified. Fast forward to 1968, in Washington, D.C., he starts to label Black majority neighborhoods in D.C. as riot districts and has installed what are called high-pressure sodium lights. They look like this. You can see everything anywhere. They beam into your houses at night. And these high-pressure sodium lights often indicated where Black neighborhoods were, and like highways and bridges, served as boundaries for redlining. And you would know that you were in a white neighborhood because you would see lights that looked often like this.
I don't know if some people really think about how that is very negative to how people think, to their psychology. Because if you are trying to say that this neighborhood should have this kind of light and this other neighborhood should have this kind of lights because of something strange behind it, this is going to create kind of division between people. What some people don't really know is that everything comes back to the same person, a Black person or Black American. And if you are not allowing that Black person have a piece as you have, or you are trying to show that this person should be eliminated from the whole community or the whole society, this is going to have effects not only to him or her, but also to his generation, to his future kids, to his future grandkids, and people who are going to come up next after him. So that's why actually the life that people are living in today, especially Black Americans, is the life which was shaped hundreds of years ago. And don't wait that is going to stop just like that. It's going to take a lot of time to really eliminate this kind of thinking and mindset that were rooted by our past generations. So let's watch the last video. And also I'm going to be back as usual with my comments, as I want yours in the comment section.
It's built into the DNA of America. And as long as we turn a blind eye to the pain of those suffering under its oppression, we will never escape those origins. The only safeguard people of color have is the right to a defense, and we won't even give them that. Which means that the promise of civil rights has never been fulfilled. Due to the failure of our justice system, our public defense system in particular, Jim Crow is alive and kicking. Laws that made it illegal for Blacks and whites to be buried in the same cemetery. They categorize people into quadroons and octoroons. They punish a Black person for seeking medical attention in a white hospital. Some may claim that slavery has ended. But tell that to the inmates who are kept in cages and told that they don't have any rights at all.
This is what is happening, because every person is speak it out. Imagine going to a certain white hospitalized people and you just getting punished just because you are going there. And not everyone is taking it as like simple thing, but it's actually very big, because a hospital is supposed to be a public institution. Everyone has to have access who gets taxed. And I think Black people get taxed as white people. They're not saying that because you are not allowed to go into some of our public infrastructures, then you are going to minimize or to reduce taxes for you. They all pay the same amount of tax in which those hospitals and public infrastructures are built, which means everyone has to have the same access to that public infrastructures. But look at what is happening to Black people. The policies were built, but not exactly to be the same as for Black Americans. And some people, they just took it as just like that. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to change it. They just want to rate it like that. But also some people, they choose to speak out, as this woman and others that we saw. Now it's the time for you to speak out. Me, I don't live in America and I have never even went there, but I live abroad and I can see what I actually meet in my daily life, because where I live also, I see some kind of discrimination and racism, which I think happens in America. And that's why actually I chose to make this YouTube account, because I want to be reviewing different people and really see what is it like to have racism in the country you were born into. Maybe me, I was just came here last 3 years ago and I wasn't born here. And actually when I face racism, I can actually try to understand people, because people build their own country, and when they see you in their buses and accessing their infrastructures, they can sometimes be angry according to how they value themselves and according to how or with what characters they have. But I actually think about Black Americans who were born in America, who don't know any other country. They take America as their own country. And imagine being discriminated and being racisted on in your own country, where you have your grandparents, where you have your brothers, where you have your nephews, where all your family is. Isn't that going to be a very strange thing? I just want to ask you how you feel about yourself, especially Black Americans. If you live in America but you're Black and you faced the same racism because of infrastructures, policies which were built hundreds of years ago, please drop down in the comment section how you really feel, because I don't really know if I was there how I would feel. Thank you, and remember to subscribe on this YouTube channel, which is new. I have a goal to reach to 1,000 subscribers. And like this video if you find it to be interesting, and please put what you think I can talk about next, because this channel is built around your discussions, around your ideas, and how or what you think I can talk about next. Ciao, and see you in the next episode.